Hey guys, welcome to today's video. In my previous video, I talked about the thumb chord technique commonly used by players such as Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about another technique that both of these guys used actually, that works really well in combination with that thumb chord technique. This is what's known as the rake technique, which basically means striking multiple strings at once, but only intentionally fretting one or two notes at a time. So when you do that, you get this nice rhythmic textural effect of striking several muted notes and one or two fretted notes at the same time. So let's get right into it. Here is how you can practice the rake technique. I'm going to demonstrate a sort of typical blues riff, a blues shuffle riff in C that makes use of both the thumb chord technique that I was talking about in the last video, and as well as that, the rake technique, which I'm about to show you. The easy part of the rake technique is what's going on with your right hand, or your picking hand. Sorry, lefties. It's a fairly straightforward strumming pattern. You're pretty much just going down, up, down, up, down, up most of the time. There's a little bit towards the end that has two upstrokes, but we'll get to that. One thing you should be mindful of here is dynamics. You want your upstrokes to be accented slightly. You want them to be a bit louder than the downstrokes. That just adds to the nice rhythmic effect of this shuffle riff. And by the way, I think some people, when they first attempt to do the rake technique, they think that they have to strum all 6 strings at once every time that they strum up or down. And that's really not the case. This is a kind of loose and rough technique to use. So what you'll find when you practice this is that your downstrokes, when you do downstrokes, you will tend to hit the lowest 3 strings, the E, A, and D strings, more than you do the highest strings, the high E, B, and G strings. And it's the opposite when you do upstrokes. When you do upstrokes, you're going to be hitting the E, B, and G strings more often than you are the D, A, and E. So you don't have to be strumming all 6 strings every time you go up or down. Here's the strumming pattern on its own without any of the notes. I want you to pay attention to the difference in volume, difference in dynamics between the upstrokes and the downstrokes. Now let's look at your fretting hand, which is doing most of the work here. There are only 4 notes in this riff. You should have your hand positioned so that your thumb is ready to fret 8 on the low E string. Your 3rd finger is ready to push down on fret 10 on the A string, and your index finger is ready to push down on fret 8 on the D string. And on top of that, you want to have your fingers positioned at a slight angle to the frets. You don't want them parallel. They need to be at a slight angle. It'll be much more comfortable to play it that way. And as for your thumb, you want to have it just resting against the low E string, but not fretting anything. Just have it next to fret 8, just resting gently against the string so that it's ready to fret when the time comes. Before you try the full riff, I want you to try this first. What you're going to do is just take one of the notes from the riff, one of the 4 notes. You can do this with all of them, but just pick one and start with that. And I want you to practice fretting that note and strumming it. And immediately after you've strummed the note, I want you to lift your finger or your thumb, not completely off the string, but just up enough so that it's not fretting the note, but it's muting it. And then that way, when you come to do your upstroke, that string is going to be muted at the right time. So that process is fret and pick the note at the same time. Immediately after picking the note, you lift it up so that it mutes the string, and then come up with your upstroke. So just practice that with each note before you try and play the full riff, because when you practice each note, you're basically just helping to ensure that you're not going to hit any unwanted open strings or unwanted notes in general. So here's what practicing it with one note at a time looks like. So if you practice that and find that you actually are hitting open strings accidentally, you just need to take a closer look at your fretting hand and work out which strings it is that you're not muting, and just make more of an effort to press down enough on those strings to mute them, but not fret any unwanted notes. Now let's take a closer look at the riff itself. Let's break this riff down into two parts. Here is part one. I'll play it slowly for you and then I'll play it to speed. And here's part two. Once again, I'll play it slowly to begin with and then to speed. At the end of part two there, I finish with two upstrokes, as you'll be able to see on the strumming pattern. And that's just a bit of personal preference there, because I generally like to let these kinds of riffs breathe a bit more and not constantly be going up and down with muted notes. So again, just personal preference. If you want to add in more sort of ghost notes with mutes, then you absolutely can, but that's just what I do at the end there. Okay, here's the full riff. Now that was of course an example of using the rake technique in a riff, but obviously you can apply this to single notes in solos like this. When you do this on the higher strings like the B and the high E string, it can be a bit harder to cover those lower strings with your fretting hand alone. So what I like to do is transfer some of that muting responsibility to my picking hand. So I'll actually palm mute the lower strings with the sort of side of my hand, as you'll see in this video to the side of me. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this lesson on the blues rake technique. Out of interest, are there any other blues techniques or concepts that you'd like me to talk about more on this channel in the future? If so, please do leave a comment below. I really do read all of the suggestions. They are super helpful. This video, for example, I only made this because someone left a comment this morning saying you should talk about the rake technique that Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix use. And I was like, yeah, I should. So here it is. Thank you, whoever it was that left that comment. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name right now. So yeah, I really do appreciate the suggestions for content on the channel. If you learned something from this video, guys, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up below and click subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys in the next one.